if I would have applied myself, I could have gone to the NBA.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. But it's just like, it's been done. I didn't want to, I was like, I don't want to be a follower. Hi, I'm Jason Concepcion.
And I'm Shea Serrano. And we are back. We have a new podcast from Wondery. It's called Six Trophies.
Woo!
And it's the best.
Each week, Shea Serrano and I are combing through all the NBA storylines, finding the best, most interesting, most compelling stories, and then handing out 6 pop culture themed trophies for 6 basketball related activities.
Trophies like the Dominic Toretto I Live My Life a Quarter Mile at a Time trophy, which is given to someone who made a short-term decision with no regard for future consequence.
Or the Christopher Nolan Tenet trophy, which is given to someone who did something that we didn't understand.
Catalina Wine Mixer trophy.
Ooh, the Lauryn Hill, you might win some, but you just lost one trophy. And what's more, the NBA playoffs are here, so you want to make Six Trophies your go-to companion podcast through all the craziness. Follow Six Trophies on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. Listen ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark off-season edition. Our second one in a week.
It really is After Dark. That's tonight. A little late.
This is what happens
all the people
when you go to
in the chat.
Like when you go to the NBA Finals. Whoop! Hello. When you go to the NBA Finals, these things kind of creep up on you.
They do.
So here we are.
How are you doing?
Here we are. So, guys, we're coming to you. It's Friday night, 10:30. Josh and I had a bit of a discussion earlier today. Sorry, I'm messing with my camera here, guys. We decided I'm going out of town. I have to drive to the middle of the country. Drive to St. Louis. My wife and we decided we're going to do it overnight with the baby sleeping in the car. So the likelihood that I am functional Sunday night would be out, which is the eve of free agency, and maybe a better time to do this when we know a little bit more, because free agency kicks off. Doesn't it basically kick off 6 o'clock on Sunday?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm not going to be around. So if something busts live, Josh will get to put this together, which will be funny for him because I commandeer all elements of setting up our YouTube and all that shit away from him just because I am ridiculous and he might have to do this by himself. But we're coming to you here on Friday night because we wanted to talk about, when the first news of the day, Tim Hardaway is no longer a Dallas Maverick, but, over the last hour or so, some things have happened, and some things have really gotten hot and heavy. And I think we gotta lead with that, don't you?
Yeah, sure.
So
the big news.
I do.
Marc Stein, breaking news.
Well, and why isn't our website updated? We just ran a story on this. I hate this when things get stuck, and our man Jack wrote up the story. Klay Thompson and the Mavericks have, quote, strong mutual interest per report from Marc Stein. I've been hearing about this for a couple of days, and everything I just don't even I've not paid any attention to it. It Klay Thompson leaving the Warriors is just one of those things where I'm just like, what? And you figure everybody kiss and make up, but the heat coming off this report from Stein, and I have it somewhere in my Gmail. I read it. Somebody sent me a screenshot of it, and let me just go pull this up.
You subscribe to Stein.
I subscribe. I subscribe to Stein.
Paying customer.
Yes, and I should. So he said, quote, and this is all off Marc Stein. The prospect of Klay Thompson leaving the only team he has ever known is suddenly looking more and more like an inevitability as the NBA free agency draws near. There's latest evidence of that amid a growing belief league-wide that Thompson's relationship with the Golden State Warriors is irretrievable. Strong mutual interest between Thompson and the Dallas Mavericks is expected when free agency opens Sunday evening. League sources tell the Stein line.
That's pretty strong language.
Yeah. That's where my brain is sussing, is heading out. And I'm kind of having struggles. We've never been good at wish casting, but I wouldn't have even considered Klay Thompson. Not because he's bad. I mean, he did finish on an 0 for 10 dud in a really disappointing performance, but it seems like Klay's really pissed. And what does that translate to if he does want to play on a new team? I mean, I am genuinely fascinating.
Yeah, I think what's crazy is it's not necessarily the fit, although we'll get into that. I think it's more, the Mavericks don't have a lot of wiggle room cap wise, but I mean, me and you have been long, and especially me and our good friend Andy Tobolowski, who actually wrote a really nice piece on Tim Hardaway Jr. that's on the site that you guys should check out. Mm-hmm. We've been staunch proponents or defenders of this idea that cap space doesn't matter. Now it matters a little bit more with this new CBA and the second apron rules and all that stuff. But generally we believe that like, if something wants to happen, it will happen. Like mm-hmm. cap rules usually do not get in the way of a player of a certain stature wanting to go to a team. Like we've never, like how many times have we seen since LeBron James left to go to the Miami Heat, have we heard, well, this deal could have happened, but they just didn't have the cap space for it. No. They trade contracts, they move money around. It usually happens. Things fall apart when players decide they want to go somewhere else or something like that. Like you just never hear of, well, cap space meant this guy couldn't get here. No, they figure it out. Teams figure it out. Mm-hmm. The thing that surprised me though is one, that I didn't realize that the relationship with Golden State seems that fractured with the language that Stein's using in that report. And then two, it was like, okay, if he's going to leave, Orlando has like 30 million just ready to spend, and they desperately need shooting, and they've been rumored to want to go after him with their cap space for like 3 months now. So I just figured that was the natural fit because I just didn't see Dallas maybe wanting to put in the work to get him because they have enough priorities to try to re-sign Derrick Jones Jr. They've got a team that just went to the finals, but it kind of makes sense when you think about trying to maximize this window they have with Kyrie, and they do need shooting. Like they need shooting. And say what you will about what Klay has become post ACL, post Achilles, he could still shoot. Now, yes, he did have that dud in the play-in loss.
He shot well last year.
Yeah, but he's shot well since he's come back from the injuries. Yeah. So I just thought if he was going to leave, he would walk into a team that would pay him, because I thought it was going to be about money. And can the Mavericks do what he needs to do to get him his money?
Right.
I don't think he's taking a discount, right? I would assume not.
I would assume not either, because that's where. So we're getting.
I know I kind of went in like 8 tangents.
No, because the one nice part about free agency as we're watching it now is there is open acknowledgement by the Dallas Mavericks front office that it is a multivariable, very complicated situation. What we used to be sold by Donnie Nelson and Cuban was a linear, this is what we're going to do style approach. There is one way we get what we want. And if it doesn't go the way we see free agency going, we're not getting, we meaning the Mavericks, we're not getting anything to happen. And like, frankly, that's how the Mavericks just shit the bed over and over and over after they won the championship in 2011. Right now, what we're looking at, and everyone needs to understand just how complicated this is, there's a lot of factors at play right now. So Derrick Jones Jr. is a clutch client as of like today, as far as I know. Like that was news. Derrick Jones Jr. is 27 years old. He has been in the league a long time already. He's only made about 30. When I say only, his gross earnings over his time is $30 million, which is a lot of money, but not a lot of NBA money, if we're being honest, for a guy who's been in the league this long. This is the last time he might be able to make money like this. And so when he's been very adamant about wanting to come back to the Mavericks, I've been very curious here because while I would like to see it happen, and I think actually what he brings to the offense from a vertical element is very important, I've just not seen it. I just haven't seen it because who can offer him the dollars? There's only a certain number of teams because like a lot of teams are over the cap. And it's, maybe something will get worked out because it comes back to the fact of what we sort of started the show with and just briefly touched on. again, Tim Hardaway was traded. So the Mavericks got under the they got away from the apron line, and it opened up the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, which is close to $13 million, I think.
Yeah.
And the Mavericks would want, the report from Tim McMahon was the Mavericks would want to offer him a significant portion of that multi-year deal. Think along the lines of like $10-11 million a year. He's gonna get more than that, in my opinion.
Is he going to get more than the 13 million that they can do if they gave him the full MLE?
The full
That's
thing,
the question.
right? All of it. Mm-hmm.
Will he get more than that?
Yeah.
And I don't know, because the teams that you would think would want him are contenders, and like you said, most of the contenders are capped out. But there are definitely teams that need to reach the salary floor or just need bodies and have cap space and wouldn't. I mean, we just saw the Indiana Pacers. I mean, this has kind of been the common example is what the Pacers did with Bruce Brown coming out of Denver. Denver could only pay him a certain amount, and the Pacers gave him like 2 for $44 or whatever it is, which was a lot of money for a dude who is really good player, but a role player. He's better. I think he's a better player than Derrick Jones Jr., but kind of in that realm, that tier of player. Team could do that. A team that feels like maybe it's close, that can splurge, that has some cap space, that isn't one of these capped out contenders, and you think 2 years isn't really going to hurt you, and he's, you can move money around, and Bruce Brown was then traded. You could use that to match money if you want to make a bigger deal down the road, and teams don't get scared if it's 2 years. And then from Jones' perspective, it's like, well, I'm paying, I'm cashing out. So maybe something like that happens. I think Bobby Marks of ESPN said that he didn't mention any teams, but he said that would be a possibility that a team could do that to just guarantee that the Mavericks can't, because once it gets to that level, then there's really not much the Mavericks could do unless they wanted to like trade a bunch of contracts that they don't want to trade. So yeah, I'm not sure, is the plan to sign and trade Klay to Golden State and then you use the MLE on Derrick Jones Jr., but if Derrick Jones Jr. gets an offer for more than the MLE, like he's going to have to make a decision if he wants money or he wants fit, and we'll see what happens.
Well, I mean,
normally Clutch gets what they want too.
Appear later in the comments says Denver could swoop in and snatch Derrick Jones Jr. if KCP leaves, and we're going to get to KCP in a little bit. But Denver is about the only other team that could maximize Derrick Jones Jr. Like that's playing with somebody that knows how to pass and find guys where passes aren't, like Jokic, is how you maximize Derrick Jones Jr. in the offensive end. Otherwise, I just like there's a reason that he hasn't been paid money, like that it's a fit thing. Like teams that are going to offer him money by and large are going to be, in my opinion, disappointed in what they get. So I don't know, just sort of something I'm thinking about. The Klay Thompson element is very odd to me. My first kind of inclination is like, ugh, just, I don't know. Like
the last time you saw him play basketball,
horrifying injuries, man.
Yeah. He's 34. The crazy part is he's actually like, the way people talk about him since post injury, they make it sound like he like can't do anything. And I understand it looks bad. And I understand like it looks bad, but he's played 3 seasons post injury. Over those 3 seasons, he's shooting 39.7% from 3 on 10 attempts a game, which is pretty crazy. Hold on, wait. I actually might have that wrong. Hold on. Let me see. I'm trying to get the 3 seasons. Yeah, sorry. He's at 39.7% on 9.7 attempts per game.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good. Like people are acting like this guy can't throw water.
You're right.
Throw water into a
and
boat.
Like, he's played in a very different offensive structure. Just very different.
Yeah, and the Warriors relied on him for a lot of offense because Steph is not the kind of ball dominant creator. He creates through his off-ball movement and space. Yep. And, when they were in his prime, it worked because Klay kind of had a little mid-range juice. That's one thing that's definitely fallen off, his 2-point percentage. He's under 50% on twos since he came back from injury, and he was well above that mark for the 3 or 4 years prior to that. So, but you play next to Luka and you don't have to create as much, and they don't necessarily need creation. They just need someone that can make shots. I mean, we saw in the finals, they needed shooting, which is really weird to say about a Mavericks team, but they kind of
we knew they needed shooting. We knew they needed it, but they traded shooting for athleticism in terms of a team building structure, and the athleticism got all the way to the finals, and that's just what shut the door. Now, so one of the things I said, I've been kind of on repeat blasting, is I trust the Mavericks top 6. Before this rumor came into the fold, top 6: Kyrie, Luka, Gafford, PJ Washington, Derek Lively, Derrick Jones Jr. That's 6. That's 6 guys. So if you're taking Derrick Jones Jr. out of that mix, and I think you kind of temporarily have to put him on hold, who are you replacing him with? Is PJ Washington a 3 or a 4? PJ Washington is better served as a 4 with how his game is right now. He's not a 3 to me. So are you going and getting? Is Klay Thompson considered your small forward? I don't really know if I want, again.
Yeah, if
he
they
signs,
lose,
I'm not going to be like, no. I'm just asking the question.
If they lose Jones and bring in Klay, the ideal
that's
way.
That's a very different player.
Right. The ideal thing, I think Stein maybe mentioned this in his post. I don't know, but I just saw people talking about it, is because they're not going to, Klay's not going to sign for the MLE. He's not signing for, if he's not going to take a disc, because that's kind of, I think the whole reason probably why he's leaving the Warriors is probably the Warriors want him to take a discount. So why would he leave that team to take a discount somewhere else? I just don't see him taking that big of a discount. So I think the ideal scenario from a Mavericks perspective is you do what you ever have to do, the sign and trade stuff to get Klay his money, and then you use the MLE to bring back Jones. So you still have your point of attack defender, and you bring in some shooting. They'll have to figure out who's starting, who's coming off the bench. I trust the Mavericks to figure that out, because they've been pretty good actually at figuring that out over the last 12 months. They handled the Tim Hardaway Jr. situation okay.
Yeah.
When he quite frankly said he didn't really want to come off the bench, but seemed like it didn't cause too big of a stink during the season. So they'd have to figure that out. But I think but if you're talking about bringing in Klay and then losing Jones, you don't really have a point of attack defender ready to go. And you're going to have to rely on Luka and Kyrie maybe guarding some players during the regular season that you didn't ask them to guard for much of last season, because Jones was just such a commodity for them. Maybe Dante Exum, but I mean, as we saw, I don't think Dante Exum can be a heavy minute guy, but maybe you chip in, maybe he steps up with an full
15 to 18 minutes a game would be nice. And Exum's contract becomes guaranteed tomorrow.
I have to imagine they're going to lock that.
Yeah, that one's a nice thing. All right, we're about halfway through, because I didn't want to talk too late. I'm tired. It's been a long week. Too many children's sports. I think my son had just a lot. We played 4 games this week. I'm just tired, and I coached 2 of them, and I am not a good basketball coach, just in case anyone was curious. Sorry, I'm reading this one guy, Daniel M., who is speaking with such a great deal of authority on what he understands is happening in the comments, and it's just it's very confusing to me. All right, so we're here late. We go live fairly regularly during the season. We go live after every game. As free agency toils on, I'm sure Josh and I will record Monday night. Or unless Josh is going to record with somebody on Sunday night. We'll see how that goes, depending on the opening of free agency. We are fairly regular contributors during the season. Off season, our schedule is a little more weird. If you guys would consider subscribing, though, you can get notified whenever we go live. It's a lot of fun. I like talking basketball. This off season feels everybody's you're feeling on all this. For me, off-season based stuff is sort of what your level of expectation is, and it's I'm just still riding the finals high, so I'm just kind of this is these guys are pretty darn amazing, and I'm just kind of happy with what's going on here. But anyways, if you guys could give the show a subscribe, consider liking this particular stream. If you're watching on video later, really love a comment. I'm sorry, I'm pretty low energy tonight, which is just not the case for me most shows. We'll be hosting I'm sure, during the week next week, I'll host either, a Mavs party or group therapy, depending on how free agency goes, and we can talk out our feelings a little bit about what's going on. And so there's a surprising amount of Mavs stuff out there. Mavs Moneyball hasn't been particularly great about covering it, because I have been I don't want to make anybody do anything. But a lot of things will happen quickly, and we still have a fair amount of stuff to talk about. So I'm going to insert some audio ads. Those who are listening on audio, please consider subscribing and leaving a review. I'm very appreciative of this. All right.
Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. With the finals over, the hoops action doesn't stop on Prize Picks. Women's basketball is still heating up. With stars like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese looking to make names for themselves, alongside greats like Brianna Stewart and Asia Wilson, you could win up to 100 times your cash watching them ball out. I know I'm looking at Clark and Stewart to put up more than their points projections, and I like Reese and Wilson to do the same to their points and rebounds combined projections too. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code BLUEWIRE for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code BLUEWIRE on Prize Picks for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
It's a good question. Micah Bump in the chat said, do you go live after every game? I thought it was only after victories. So what happened, Micah, this is a good question. What happened was I had a baby at the start of the year, and I was not physically or mentally prepared to do all these things. So what we did was we had the regular show after every game, and then I went live. Not near as much as I should have for the fan participation show. My brain was just cooked. And so as the year went on, I got a lot better at it because we adjusted to the baby schedule. And so by like April, we did it all. And then in the playoffs, we did one after every game. I did a 4-hour long one at one point. It was absurd.
That was after they clinched the finals, right? I think.
Yeah, after the Wolves game 5. That was great. We had a great time. All right. What else should we go to here? Because I mean, the Klay Thompson thing, we'll learn more about that as we go. The Kentavious Caldwell-Pope story is out there. Stein also pointed out, like, there's
I feel like that's kind of gone now that it's like Klay's the new hotness. And
there's a lot of but it's all like clutch related. All these, because I'm pretty sure KCP is clutch related, is clutch tied. All of these guys are clutch tied. And Derek Lively, clutch guy, pretty sure.
Yep.
So it's very fascinating to me.
Interesting, yeah. Especially, aren't there some Rich Paul quotes on the record about him not being the biggest Cuban guy? like 5. I feel like somewhere around 2015 to 2017.
Probably wouldn't shock me at all.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny how things changed there. But
so the Grant stuff is interesting. Let's just go back in time and start at the very beginning. Ian Begley talked about the Mavericks as being a potential home for Tobias Harris, and like that one has made sense to precisely no one. Tobias Harris is a 6'8" 4 power forward who is pretty solid all around. But I'm pretty sure he's made more money than Dirk Nowitzki at this point in his career, because that's how big like overinflated salaries are. I don't see like what would he, that one just never made sense. Like the math like doesn't make sense.
Especially with PJ Washington here. Like you don't want those two probably playing together. You know, you don't know where you do with your point of attack, because so you bring Derrick Jones Jr. off the bench. If you do bring him back, it's just they do need some shooting and some scoring, and actually Tobias does make some sense, but I think it would make more sense if they didn't have Washington here. I think with what, because they play the same position, and yeah, PJ can slide down to the 3 or Tobias can slide down to the 3, but it kind of makes things a little messy, and it kind of bounces off the Jeremy Grant fit as well. I don't know why they would want to bring in another 4 that could start when they have PJ. But I don't know, maybe they just want as much length and size and flexibility as possible and switching. But
sure,
I don't know. It doesn't. Tobias isn't as clean a fit as a KCP, who would be like a Derrick Jones Jr., but like can shoot the ball, or even
defender
a Klay.
Wise, nowhere near the
right.
Like not a vertical guy,
right?
But yeah,
but he would be your point of attack defender while also giving you some shooting juice that Jones doesn't. But and then of course Klay is the shooting piece that they need shooting. They just desperately need shooting. So that part makes sense. Grant even makes sense a little bit in that he can shoot and score a little bit, but like Grant and Tobias those are the ones that don't make as much. Like Klay and KCP make sense. The Grant and Tobias don't make as much. Like that feels more like I mean, the Tobias thing just feels like leverage. Like he just wants interest to drive up his price. But we'll see.
Sure. All right, then the next one that I'm, and I made this. I'm trying to think how to say this. That sounds like a prick. So I've been around NBA adjacent reporting people since about 2011, 2012. I didn't join Mavs Moneyball until 2013, but like I knew and was friends with up and like people that were just blogging before that was like a profession, people that were doing it for fun. Then it turned into jobs, then it turned into real jobs, then it turned into like national jobs. So there's people that I've known for 15 years, including a couple people in the Portland area. And so before they made the trade that they made the other day, who did they trade for? Why is my brain blanking? Who did Portland trade for? Come on, Josh.
Oh my gosh. They traded Malcolm Brogdon, right? But I can't remember who they got.
You're killing me, Smalls. You're just killing me. You're
Hey,
supposed to know these things.
We didn't talk about it before. Hold on.
You're supposed to know.
Denny.
Oh yes, all right. A long sought after player. Mavericks fans love Denny Avdija, and I don't blame them. Denny is nuts. He would have been a very fun Maverick on a different timeline. But what I talked to my friends before that trade, to which to me really signifies like a commitment to a youth movement. And I don't think Portland is done moving people. But before that trade happened, I was specifically told that the Mavericks have made more than a few phone calls about Jeremy Grant. And each time the phone call ended with like, why are you calling? Like, it was like, it's great that you're interested in him. Bye. Because at that particular moment, but does Portland need small guards? No. Do they need a washed up big and Maxi Kleber? No. So why are we calling? And the Mavericks first round picks are not interesting. Like a 2025 next year where the Mavericks are probably going to be top 6 in the league is not interesting.
25 to 30. Yeah.
Right. And like the 2031 one is interesting, I think, way down the line, but I don't know. I don't even know if that sort of thing has been discussed or included. And I don't ask these sorts of things because honestly, I just don't want to know. I'm more interested to know is the talk real? So I think that there's probably some interest where the Mavericks are monitoring Grant and what's going on, but Grant is owed a ton of money over the next 4 years of his deal. Excuse me.
I think his contract declines though.
It does, but he's still, it was a 5-year, $160 million deal. And granted, I don't think deals really matter with how much the cap was likely to go up. But I more say that from a matching salary point of view. It's
without THJ,
without him, who are you sending? You got Josh at 14 million. You got Maxi at 11. You got Powell left over. You got Jaden Hardy's probably 1.5. It's hard, and it's easier to match salaries in the summer because I want to say that the dollars in and dollars out are a lot easier to do. But just from a practical standpoint, I'm not seeing it. Now that doesn't mean shit. This could go over. This could go back to teams get together and figure stuff out. But to me, this one strikes me as lower on that multiversal platform. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so because at least with the Klay thing, he can dictate where he wants to go a little bit. He's a free agent, so you would think he has a little bit more control there. I don't know. We don't know if Grant wants to even be traded. He left a championship contender in Denver to go to Detroit because
he wanted the shots.
He wanted to score the ball, make shots. That's totally fine. And he seems okay. He signed that contract in Portland, also another bad team because he gets shots and he gets money. So I don't know if he has, motivation to force Portland's hand here. So I don't know if Portland doesn't care because what are they, they're rebuilding. Sure, they don't necessarily need someone his age and his contract, but also they have to pay somebody. Not every team can just be the process 76ers where you just barely scrape the salary floor and have a bunch of first and second round picks and undrafted free agents on your roster.
Josh
You have to have someone.
Josh Campbell points out that Grant's contract is escalating. 36.
Oh, it's
at the
escalating.
end of it.
Okay.
So thank you, Josh. Appreciate that correction.
Thank you. That's important then, because that factors in. So, I just don't think Portland, I don't know. I think
my homie Daniel in the chat says Portland is trying to play hardball, and it's like,
well, why do they don't have no reason?
Like, I don't.
Well, why do they have to take,
I'm like, why?
They don't have to take, if they don't like the Mavs package, they don't have to take it.
Yeah.
There's no reason to be in a hurry to move him. They can hold him to the trade deadline. Like, that's not going to matter.
For years, they can hold him to the trade deadline. He has 4 years remaining on his deal.
Yeah. So I just, if they don't like what the Mavericks have to offer, it's kind of like, well, that's it. Like, I don't know.
And again, things could change because, gosh, who's there? I had somebody suggest to me that the Blazers could look to move. Looking through their roster,
DeAndre Ayton.
No.
Rob Williams.
Who's their tinier scoring guard?
Simons.
That they could look to move Simons. Simons 6'3" and he's a heck of a scoring guard, but like, what does he do on a given team? And so if they move Simons, might they be more interested in somebody like Josh Green? I just say that because otherwise you're at like this team had. Why would they want another small guard? Because again, Josh Green is 6'4".
Simon, Sharp, Scoot Henderson.
If anybody throws the NBA's listing of Josh Green at 6'7" to me, I will block you. He is not 6'7". My God, like go watch a game if you think he's 6'7". Anyway. So I don't know. That one's just kind of weird. We'll see what goes on there. We already talked about Pope. We already talked about Derrick Jones Jr. We already talked about Dante Exum, Klay Thompson. So that's kind of where we are right now. There's the big trade this morning, and I think we kind of owe it to Tim.
Yeah, we can talk about it.
I found out that Tim Hardaway blocked me on Twitter. That's
junior or senior?
Junior.
Oh no.
Like, I don't remember ever. I'm sure I have been mean. Like, that's fine. But like,
I'm sure he saw a tweet after one of those first two that 2021 Clippers series.
I mean, it's got to be said. So Tim Hardaway from game 3 of the Clippers in 2021, where he just died on the vine with Rick Carlisle still in charge of the team. Game 3 against the Clippers there, where they were up 2-0, and then game 3 they lost. From game 3 until about 30 games into
the following season?
The following season was when he broke his foot. Remember? At Golden State.
Yeah.
And so that's 2021-22 until 2022-23. He about 30 games. I'm not kidding. It was like I went game by game and did all the math at one point. It was like a 60 game stretch over almost 2 seasons because again, his season ended mid-January where he shot like 32% from 3. It was heinous. He just died. And then he came back to us. Timmy came back to us. And so, okay, let's talk about the mechanics of the trade in the end. But I want to reminisce a little bit about Tim Hardaway for a second. Tim Hardaway came as part of he was the tax for Kristaps Porzingis, right? And everybody's looking at his deal. He was not very good in New York. And it's like, oh God, we just gotta hold on to this guy for 2 more years. Maybe we can trade him. Maybe we can send something out. And this is 2018. It was March 2019. Into Luka's rookie year. And Tim Hardaway ended up being a staple of the team for 5 years, where he turned himself into the kind of shooter that the Mavericks offense needed. And if you saw Timmy on a hot streak, it was like nothing the Mavericks had on the roster. But then he'd go on cold streaks where we wouldn't want him to play and wanted to throw him out the window. So the Tim Hardaway of it all, he was a full fan experience guy for me. He played a lot. He played hard. He tried his best. He was always professional with the media. Seemed like a phenomenal teammate. Seemed like a guy that other guys liked. He's going to be one of these guys where over the course of my long fandom, I think more happily about than I remember the stuff where he died. He was bad in the finals. He was bad against the Clippers. But by and large, Timmy was put in positions where he was in over his head. And a lot of times he played really well and helped bring the Mavericks to, it was very much there was a one stat, and it was where it's like, did Tim Hardaway shoot, X% from the floor? And the Mavericks, if it was yes, the Mavericks won. If he didn't, the Mavericks lost.
He was very important to their winning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he had he had the best years of his career here. Like, that's inarguable. Like, his career had been pretty inconsistent until he got to Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And he pretty quickly turned it around and became one of the best shooters in the league. Like, you look at over the last 5 years, you look at guys that have taken as many threes as he has taken, and then you sort them by percentage and makes. He's like in the top 7. Like, he's one of the most prolific shooters of the last 5 years. And of course, yes, he would shoot 50% for 2 weeks and then shoot 20% for the next 2 weeks. And he was very hot or cold, and that, that's what led to what you said. He was very much the pinnacle kind of fandom guy, and I understand it.
I mean, it's very telling.
The defensive lowlights were out there, and
they were
that
amazing.
was difficult. But also, like you said, he was literally the only guy on the roster that did the things that he did, and they needed that. And when you have a guy like Luka, who is, quite frankly, maybe the best 3-point shot creator in the NBA, kind of need someone to shoot a lot of threes, and he was the only guy.
He was the guy. He's like, I'll do it.
They had a bunch of role players that had good decent, solid percentages, but they just didn't shoot enough. And his quick trigger was invaluable. And even when they needed to trade him, they wanted to trade. I mean, it feels like this is the third summer in a row. They finally did it this summer, but it feels like the last 2 or 3, it's been they want to trade him.
Well, he took less money to stay.
Yeah, you just can't.
That's one of those things that's going to stick with me is he took less money to stay, because he had like a 4 for 100 deal from the Pelicans on the table, and he took less to stay with Dallas. And that's something I'm going to remember. I will also note, though, as much as I enjoyed Timmy, there's something to the fact that the 2 most successful playoff runs did not involve him. In 2021-22, he was out with the foot injury. 2024 here, when Kidd cut him out of the rotation is when things finally got better for the defense and for the team. So that's disappointing. So mechanics of the trade, the Mavericks sent some distant future seconds that I don't even think were theirs. They sent 3 of them, and then got back Quentin Grimes, which is interesting. I don't really know what do you know what Grimes' contract situation is? I haven't looked into it yet.
He's on the last. This upcoming season will be the last of his rookie deal, and then he'll be a restricted free agent.
Restricted. That's a fascinating. This is the kind of gamble a team that is overloaded and close to the apron cap expanded. This is what a team has to take a. Can
you even call it a gamble? Like, it's really like, I don't even see, even if he's bad.
No, but this is
it doesn't matter.
This is the kind of it doesn't matter, but it's like they didn't lose Tim for nothing. It's not like his contract's off the books, and they got a player who, when you're looking at his career, there's things to really like about Quentin Grimes. I keep saying I'm very happy with the Mavericks top 6, but then you need some luck in your top 10, where you need guys who can come in and play. And Grimes is, there's some there. Is that fair?
Yeah, this guy can shoot 37% for his career. And I think it says a lot that he earned Tom Thibodeau's trust pretty early on as a rookie and as a second-year player. Like, his first 2 seasons with the Knicks, he was one of their main rotation guys. I mean, he never was a major starter.
Why did he fall out of the rotation? I don't remember.
Before he got traded, he played 45 games and averaged 20 minutes per game, which is about what he did the previous season. It was more they wanted to trade for Bojan and bring in some veteran help to make the playoff push, I think. And then his season really didn't go sour until after the trade. He only played 6 games with Detroit last season. He was
Detroit
injured.
Has no spacing, so I don't take.
Well,
Detroit
he was
is
hurt.
Just such a dumpster.
Yeah, he was hurt. I mean, he shot 14% from 3 in those 6 games. It was bad. Before that, he fell off a little bit. He was at 36% before the trade with the Knicks, which is a little he was 38% his rookie and second year.
2% variance.
But yeah, not that bad. And he still played. He
shot
playing
a lot of high volume, didn't he? Per 36 numbers was kind of.
His per 36, he's averaging about 7.7 threes per game. Like, this is a bench guy averaging 20 minutes a game who would get up like 5 to 6 threes a game. Like, that's a lot. And that's almost the more impressive stat for him than the percentage, because the Mavericks need willing shooters, right? Like, they just need guys that can get up shots. Like, they just can't have these passive, pass up, pass the ball around, hot potato it around when Luka and Kyrie are kind of doing what they can to generate offense. Like, you just need that guy. And honestly, he's kind of filling in. I don't know if he's going to fill in Tim Hardaway's spot, but he's got the profile to do it. Like, he's very capable in getting shots up and converting them at a high percentage. So the gamble, if he's healthy, I mean, you might be trading Tim for a better, younger version of him, because he's got some defensive tools as well. Saw some stats being flown around. He's pretty much been an elite screen navigator on the defensive end, and that's very important for what Dallas wants to do, because their entire defensive scheme revolves around their two big shot blocking centers, Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford, being as close to the rim as possible at all times, because they're so good at denying the paint and denying the rim. So if you want to play like that, you're going to need guards and perimeter defenders that can get around screens, because your big's not going to help you a lot on there, because they don't want Gafford and Lively playing up at the 3-point line a lot. They'll do it occasionally, but that's not going to be their base every possession defense. So if you're going to play like that, you need guys that can get over screens and get around screens and stay connected to the ball handler. And Grimes can apparently do that very well when he's healthy and right. So he fits to a T what they want to do on paper. We just got to see, was that Detroit spell just injury and weird bad team funk, or was that a downward trend? We don't know, but it's worth a gamble, because at worst, he's getting paid like $4 million this season. Like, it's a win-win all around. It's a really great move, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, and I will look forward to remembering Tim fondly. Is kind of where I go.
That's fair, because they needed him. He did. I mean, he got a lot of hate, and I understand why. He was a very polarizing player because of just the defense and the hot cold shooting. But again, I'll say he was just invaluable to those teams, because no one else could do what he could do.
Mm-hmm. Well, guys, about 40 minutes in, 11:15. I just want to say my piece on one final thing, and then we'll get out of Dodge here. I am a skeptic. Of the Mavericks, and have been a very long time. That's because they made mistakes, which were obvious from before they happened. And the problem was the previous regime, whether you consider it Cuban, Donnie, Rick, whoever, the local media apparatus, which enjoys a fair amount of connectivity with that former group of guys, everything we were sold from 2013, really 2012, maybe even all the way back to 2011, whenever Cuban
the summer of 2011. Yeah.
Whenever Cuban broke up the championship team. We have been sold an ever-growing shit sandwich. And it just happened year after year after year. And it was really frustrating. Josh and I spent 2020 free agency tearing the Mavericks apart within moments of when that opened, because Donnie Nelson 2019, you're right. Donnie Nelson believed it was a slow-going rollout, and they could afford to take Kristaps Porzingis to dinner. By the time dinner with Kristaps Porzingis was done, free agency was over. The Mavericks lost. The Mavericks, and that I have it. I cannot prove this. It also is too late to matter now, but I also have, and I've repeated this a number of times, that the Mavericks had a deal in place for Alex Caruso to join that team, and instead opted to sign Boban Marjanovic. Just go back and look at those rosters and think about what that might have meant. It's gone now, though, and we're here. And the first free agency that Nico had a chance to really play a hand with, the Jalen Brunson thing was screwed up by the Mavericks. Cuban plays a role in it. Nico plays a role in it. Jason Kidd plays a role in it. The JaVale McGee signing, I will never understand. I would love to get in a room and someone explain to me how 27 billion year old asthmatic JaVale McGee was somehow the answer. I will never understand why Christian Wood was somehow the answer, why that was a thing. But what the Mavericks did from trading from Kyrie forward has been so fucking good. They made the finals. They made the finals. I just can't. They have earned a level of, okay, I trust you guys. I trust you. I trust the Mavericks front office right now. I'm not necessarily advising, not everybody needs to be like me, but I just want to say that if you're a little skeptical, you're a little worried, just think about where we were. Luka's 60-point game in Madison Square Garden, and then the Mavericks couldn't win a game again. They were terrible. And then they just righted the ship to go for Kyrie, but then they had to tank out that season. Since it's just been the right move after right move. I mean, so like
you could argue the 5 or 6 best moves the Mavericks have made since drafting Luka all happened within the last 12 months.
Derrick Jones Jr.,
Lively,
Dante Exum, like those are 2 back-end signings, like incredible shit. So
drafting Lively, and even being able to turn the Grant trade into PJ, which I know is.
Luka fan 77 says this is a great comment. He says exactly, and now we are linked to every big free agent. And somebody said this earlier, I don't remember if it was on our Slack or in the comments, but
it was Jordan.
2 years ago, we're sitting here wondering when is Luka going to ask out? Like that was a question people would talk about. That's not the question anyone's asking anymore. It's just not.
No,
just not.
And even if they don't do anything substantial, like they're going to return at least bare minimum their top 5 players from a finals team.
I mean, you want to know my real concern? My real concern is that they lose Sweeney to Detroit. I think Sweeney is a valuable component to what the team does.
He's been with Kidd for a while too, because wasn't he with Kidd in Milwaukee also? So I think they're kind of attached at the hip. Sorry, Luke is right. The 60-point game was at the American Airlines Center. I don't know why I thought it was in that, but it was against the Knicks. That I was right about. Anyways, you got anything else before we get out of Dodge? Man, no, I don't. Except I guess free agency is in a couple days, which is just freaking crazy.
Sunday.
We'll probably get an answer on that Klay stuff soon because Orlando with cap space. We'll find out pretty soon if this Dallas rumor is real or just a leverage play. Like that should sort itself out pretty quick, I would think.
Well, I want to shout out our super comments. We got Henry saying finally sent Timmy to Bangladesh. That's pretty funny. Our man Cowboy says, I wouldn't go after Klay. The Chandler Parsons free agency dilemma is a learning moment. Respectfully, Klay is Maxey with a jump shot.
My
I just love the spice there, Cowboy. Just fantastic stuff. Paul Armstrong says, today is the day the Lord hath made, better in some circles than the Super Bowl, Indianapolis 500, and Lower Oakland roller derby all put together. Man, some people were just really ready for Timmy to go. This is something. Then our man Lucas 77 says, I understand the Klay concern, but we are the 27th ranked team shooting from the corners. We had the second greatest shooter ever. Spacing will be elite. Ray Allen Heat vibes, but he's better. Interesting take. Kind of like that one. And then another comment from Raul Vega with a query. He just shot us a couple of bucks. Really appreciate the super chat, guys. I didn't know people would still be doing that in the off season. Ooh, that's a fantastic stat. Chris Nito says Grimes dropped 33 points in the Luka 60-point game.
Yeah.
Great pull. Didn't remember that.
I mean, he was on the rise, and he was a pretty touted recruit. I think coming out of high school, he went to Kansas.
I need to do some homework.
He's got some pedigree. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I know you got a lot of Knicks fans, friends, media. Talk to them. Like, he was a fan favorite in New York before he got traded. Like, they loved him. Plus, you can do Simpsons memes.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah. All right, we don't know when we'll be back, but we'll be back. So, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Everyone is.
We will talk Sunday night. Even if it's just me, We'll go live Sunday.
Are you kidding? Half of our staff really secret. Like, this is the one thing, we all make, sometimes you and I and our staff will make fun of like transaction junkies, but then you like go to our Slack and I just been checking it less. And it's like when I open it up and there's 150 messages and I'm like, guys, write something. Part of the problem. Don't just do it. Don't just do it. All right. Thank you so much for hanging out, everyone. This has been Kirk and Josh Bowe. We will be back at some point. Be on the lookout. Subscribe to the channel and have a great weekend. Go Mavs.